And now for the Q&A.
Here is a question from Jody.
Hi, Jody.
And Jody said, by the way, at the end of their note, from Jody, a dude. So I think,
okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so Jody says, Ethan, on a recent podcast, you mentioned that you have safeguards built in to help prevent you from getting too far off track and regaining the weight you've lost. I'm a regular listener to your awesome podcast, but I can't remember what these safeguards are. I'm 51 and have lost and regained 100 plus pounds 3 times as an adult.
Yeah.
After going through an ugly divorce, after an 18-year marriage, getting laid off from my job of 26 and a half years and gaining 255 pounds, I'm starting to kick butt again. I've dropped 105 pounds, but still have another 150 to go. I'm motivated and in the zone now, but there's always that thought in the back of my mind that I'm going to fall off the bandwagon again and regain the weight. Having safeguards in place seems like a very smart thing to do, hence my question.
Okay, Jody, great question. So the safeguards for me are kind of, like I'm a sober guy, and the safeguards for me there are I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. And then it's like, I don't need to be at a crack house. Okay. That's like in the extreme. And then it's like, if somebody comes over to my house with a pocket full of cocaine, I say like, please take that somewhere else. Right. I am not, spending time finding things to do in neighborhoods where drugs are sold, which is all stuff that I would have done when I was using drugs. It would be like, I got to go just look at houses in this neighborhood and go for a drive and like try to make eye contact with everybody standing on the corner and see if any of them nod at me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing shit like that. I have no business being in a bar. And even that, I'm like, occasionally my wife will want to go out, and then, we're waiting for our table at the restaurant and they tell us to wait at the bar. And even then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a club soda. I'm with my wife. This is fine. So when we're talking about safeguards with food, I go through where I kind of got in trouble with food. One of them was I used to eat in secret. I used to love to eat in secret. I used to love to eat when nobody was looking, and I don't do that anymore. So I go down the road of, how does my life work all the time? And I will find myself away from friends and family, in a hotel, in a strange city. And then what am I going to do? I'm alone, so I don't eat. No, you can't do that. And so it's like, I have to be very honest with myself. Would I eat this meal in front of my wife? Would I be comfortable eating this? Because the reason I would want to eat alone is because there's stuff there's amounts of food that I would want to consume that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing in front of another person. And so that's my barometer with, if I'm being completely honest, would I do this in front of my wife? And then even worse, would I do this in front of a stranger, right? Because sometimes your wife gives you a little leeway, and your manners can go out. You can be a little bit of a pig in front of your wife. It's not typical, but it happens. And so then I kind of force myself, okay, I'm not going to sit in my hotel room and order DoorDash or Uber Eats or Postmates. I'm going to go out to the restaurant and sit there, and I'm going to let a person look at me in the eye while I order this food. And I'm going to make choices that I'm willing to have other people witness. Right. Mm. And that's not to say I haven't gone to a restaurant and totally pigged out on my own, but there's a difference between shutting off the outside world and just pretending they don't exist so that I can be debaucherous, and being present and going like, the world can witness this act of food that I have transgressed against so many times in the past, that I have done things that are not morally right within myself. I'm not going to do that. The other one is I don't eat fast food. Not that's less of an absolute, but it's pretty firm that's not really an option for me. I'd rather eat a cellophane wrapped turkey sandwich at the airport newsstand than go to McDonald's and eat a Big Mac. That's that's a safeguard because McDonald's for me was a food I abused, so I stay away from it. Again, it's not absolute. My teenage daughter, she's 18 now. I think like a year or two ago, she told me she'd never had McDonald's fries. This to me was blasphemy because I think they have the best fries. So we went and shared a small bag of fries. So it's not quite like with alcohol and booze where I am pretty black and white. But I went into McDonald's with her. We bought a small bag of fries and we shared it. And we didn't even finish the bag of fries. And then that was it. And I haven't been back to McDonald's since then. The other thing is I tell myself that like if the wheels fall off, how much work do I have to do to put on a pound? That's 3,500 calories in excess of what I'm burning. That's not going to happen. It's going to be really difficult to happen in a sitting. You can do it, but it's not going to be easy. And then, okay, you fucked up, you gained a pound at worst, something like that. One of the other things that I do, another safeguard is, I don't eat to the point of, there's a feeling I used to eat until I literally, there was a Monty Python sketch where a guy's at the all you can eat buffet or something like that. And he's eating and he's growing fatter and fatter and fatter as he's eating. And they're offering him food and he just keeps taking it. And then he says, I'm done. And the guy comes with a mint. And at first I think he's like, no, I can't have the mint. I'm so full. And then he goes, okay, I might as well. And he eats the mint and he explodes. Mm-hmm. I would want to eat to the point of that mint. I wouldn't want to explode. I never wanted to like actually rip my stomach open, but I wanted the sensation. There was like almost a euphoria that would come with overeating, with eating to the point of intoxication. I don't do that. There's no cheat meal. That doesn't happen. We just recently took my 16-year-old daughter to one of my favorite restaurants in New York, Carbone, and we had like a 5-course meal, and we had starters, and there were I don't even remember what the starters were, but there was a carpaccio, and there was a vegetable carpaccio, and then there was a salad course where they make a Caesar salad tableside, and then there was a pasta course, and then there was a meat and fish course, and then there was a dessert course. And I didn't overeat any of it. I ate a couple bites of each thing, and then when I left, I was full but not over full, and we walked home, and it was fine. So I'm really watching out that I'm not going to go sit by myself with a whole pizza, because that's dangerous. I will eat the whole pizza. But if there's a pizza that my family's sharing and I take a slice or two, I'm at no risk of eating, because they got to eat too. Do you see what I mean? Like I'm trying to stay out of situations that are dangerous for me. Those are the safeguards. And there's lots of them. I try not to go to the supermarket hungry. I try not to prepare myself food hungry. I want to eat before that, because I make less good decisions when I'm hungry with regard to food. If you got me really hungry and out of sorts about it and then took me to a buffet, I'm likely to have a bad time at the buffet and overeat and eat stuff that is off my plan. But if I stay well fed and I then wind up out to dinner, even if it's a buffet, and by the way, if you're on a diet, you're never well fed, but there's ways to time your food so that you're at least not starving, right? Mm-hmm. When you show up at a situation where there's suddenly, you can choose from anything. That's really how I'm trying to model my life, so that if I do stray off course, I can get right back on. The damage is not so severe. Like I just had in the last week, I was in Toronto for a few months. back and forth to my house in Toronto and travel. And then the last week, we basically had to make up for everything that we missed because, you know, you're shooting, we're shooting this TV show, and like one day we're shooting half inside, half outside. And while we're shooting inside, there decides to be a snowstorm, and then it messes up what we're going to shoot outside. So then they have to say like, well, now we're going to keep shooting inside and we'll move that outside work. Well, a lot of work kept getting moved down to the last week. And so the last week I had a lot to do. There wasn't, as much time to meal prep. I wasn't getting to the gym. Then I wrapped at midnight. I had to be at another job the next day, the next morning. So I like didn't sleep. And at some point I cut myself some slack, and I was like, this is not where I'm perfect on my diet, but this is also not where I'm eating donut and pizzas. I'm going to find the most high protein food I can. At one point I was picking the breading off of, what's that popular chicken place that they make the sandwiches? That's
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. I was I was literally peeling chicken fillets and having extra chicken breasts. And then I'm not going to lie, I ate one bun. I did, but it had 3 chicken breasts on it. And then I was done, and I wasn't so stuffed I couldn't go back to work. I had a nice amount of protein. It still had way too much fat. It still had too many carbs. I actually don't know, but I normally wouldn't eat that. That normally wouldn't be food, but I suddenly was presented with a scenario where it was like, this is it. This is the food that is available, and you're at work, and what are you going to do? And I knew that I wasn't going to damage myself so bad that it was irrevocable. And I got home a couple days later, and I went to the gym the next morning after I got a good night's sleep, and I ate back on my program, and I've been back on my program, and it's been fine. And I'm avoiding the scale for a couple of days because maybe I had extra salt and carbs, and I don't want to see that, because that number, if it's up, which isn't going to be all fat, is going to bum me out. And so in a couple of days, I'll get on the scale and see what I actually weigh right now. And I'm actually sure it will be fine. And that's when I'm talking about safeguards. I'm talking about putting up pretty rigid barriers that are not so rigid that if they move, they break and the flood pours out of them. They're just guardrails. That's what I do.
I love that answer so much, and I so appreciate your specific examples. You know what I mean? Because everybody I just was like, oh, right, that is equal to XYZ for me or whatever. So
sure.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody's going to have exactly the same thing, but like, here's my stuff, and can you relate to it?
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. And to Jody, I hope that's helpful to you. Let us know how things go for you.
Jody the dude, thank you.
Jody the dude. And for anyone else out there who has a question for Ethan, you can always email it to us here at americanglutton.net. And to be more specific, it's hello@americanglutton.net.
Hello at americanglutton.net.